light. What so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming. This was stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. For the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, sing us that star-spangled banner yet wave, o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you had a fabulous weekend. Mine was pretty lazy with a lot of fattening foods, but hey, that's what weekends are about, correct? I am so glad you guys are here. Today is a very, very sad day for all of us. Whether you're from New York, Texas, Rhode Island, Alabama, United States of America, Canada, Mexico, wherever, this day, it's like the world stopped all at once. So today we are going to give remembrance not to the hijackers, but to the first responders, to our military, and all the people that stepped up, whether it was to deliver water or rushing into buildings that were on fire, or that crashed a plane on purpose so that it wouldn't hit the White House. Some of the people that ran out into the streets of New York are still suffering health consequences to this day. I'll never forget this day 22 years ago. Never. We had the TV on in the break room, and I was like, what in the hell is going on? You're telling me that that pilot didn't see that big ass building? Then a few minutes later, the next one was hit. Well, at that point, it was pretty obvious what was going on. I went upstairs and I got our boss, the CEO of the company, and he started watching it and sent everybody home. Schools were letting out early. It was just pandemonium because we didn't know what was going to happen next. Woo! There were people that were stuck for days on end because they couldn't trust planes in the air. They didn't know how deep this went. So I'm not going to get into the politics of it. I'm going to stick with the patriotism of it. You're right, Big T, the Pentagon too. And it would have been worse and worse and worse. So let's remember today and tell me, where were you?
Where were you when the world stopped turning on that September day? Were you in the yard with your wife and children, or working on some stage in LA? Did you stand there in shock at the sight of that black smoke rising against that blue sky? Did you shout out in anger and fear for your neighbor, Or did you just sit down and cry? Did you weep for the children who lost their dear loved ones? Pray for the ones who don't know. Did you rejoice for the people who walked from the rubble and sob for the ones left below? Did you burst out with pride for the red, white, and blue, and the heroes who died just doing what they do? Did you look up to heaven for some kind of answer and look at yourself and what really matters? I'm just a singer of simple songs. I'm not a real political man. I watch CNN, but I'm not sure I can tell you the difference in Iraq and Iran. But I know Jesus and I talk to God, and I remember this from when I was young. Faith, hope, and love are some good things He gave us, and the greatest is love. Where were you when the world stopped turning on that September day? Teaching a class full of innocent children, or driving down some cold interstate? Did you feel guilty cause you're a survivor? In a crowded room, did you feel alone? Did you call up your mother and tell her you loved her? Did you dust off that Bible at home? Did you open your eyes and hope it never happened? Close your eyes and not go to sleep. Did you notice the sunset the first time in ages? Or speak to some stranger on the street? Did you lay down at night, think of tomorrow, go out and buy you a gun? Did you turn off that violent old movie you're watching and turn on I Love Lucy reruns? Did you go to a church and hold hands with some strangers, stand in line and give your own blood? Did you just stay home and cling tight to your family? Thank God you had somebody to love. I'm just a singer of simple songs. I'm not a real political man. I watch CNN, but I'm not sure I can tell you the difference in Iraq and Iran. But I know Jesus and I talk to God, and I remember this from when I was young. Faith, hope, and love are some good things He gave us, and the greatest is love. I'm just a singer of simple songs. I'm not a real political man. I watch CNN, but I'm not sure I can tell you the difference in Iraq and Iran. But I know Jesus and I talk to God, and I remember this from when I was young. Faith, hope, and love are some good things He gave us, and the greatest is love. And the greatest is love. And the greatest is love. Where were you when the world stopped turning on that September day?
Wow, if that doesn't just bring it all back. This morning on our local news, they were showing local schools around here. And they're going to have, a remembrance day today. They're having stair climbs, and I mean, all kinds of stuff, which I think is so important for these schools to do because, well, the kids that are in school, they weren't alive 22 years ago. And it seems to be a part of our history that some people want us to forget. But that can never happen. That can never happen. And this clip right here really brings it home. There's old pervert Matt Lauer talking to the author of the Howard Hughes book. They don't even say breaking news, it just jumps right in. So we knew something was up then, because you interrupt Matt Lauer while he's got an exclusive, it has to be serious. This is from a local station in New York.
She would wash him down with lye soap every morning. She would check his teeth like a horse. She looked in the toilet at his feces to see if there was tapeworms. But mind you, it was a time that there were...
This is a special report from News Channel 4.
Good morning, everybody. I am Jane Hansen in the News Channel 4 studio this morning to bring you some news. We are looking at a picture now of the World Trade Center, and we have an eyewitness on the telephone who tells us that he has seen an airplane crash into the World Trade Center. His name is Tony Arrigo. He is on East 12th Street. Tony, can you please tell us what you witnessed?
Yes, I can tell you what happened. I was taking the garbage out of the building when we heard this roaring engines coming. We looked up and there was a plane. Next thing you know, we heard boom. We ran up to the corner and hit right into the World Trade Center.
Tony, can you tell us what kind of an airplane is it?
It had to be a 737. It had to hit the World Trade Center. It was a big, big plane.
Okay, and what do you see at this point?
Oh, smoke and screaming and, screaming engines, and all the fire engines and police departments are all traveling down that way. Oh, my God almighty, the black smoke all over the place. I hope there's got to be somebody killed in it and poor people that went to work.
Well, Tony, we don't have any confirmation from any officials of this happening. Just repeat again, you were just going outside.
I was bringing the garbage out to the freight entrance when we heard this roaring engine. We looked up and there was the plane. Next thing we know, in a matter of seconds, we heard a boom. We went to the corner, and there it was, right in the middle of the World Trade Center.
Where are you standing right now, Tony?
I'm right in the building right now.
Okay, and what do you see at this point?
Oh, people all staring up there, looking at it and all. Oh, my God, the smoke is coming out, black billow smoke.
Okay, you can see we are physically looking at one of our sky cams right now. We can see billowing smoke from the top of the World Trade Center, Tony.
Yeah.
Are there other people that are around you at this point? Is everybody in pretty much of a state of shock?
Oh, of course they are. People are all in shock. The people in the building are in shock, going out. My God almighty, this is a real disaster. This is worse than the one that hit the Empire State Building back in 1939 or 38, whenever that was.
Okay. Tony, how long ago did you witness this happening?
Oh, come on, 10 minutes ago.
10 minutes ago?
That's about all.
Okay. And again, we're putting our camera in. We are pushing our camera into the top of the World Trade Center, and we can see that there appears to be some fairly significant damage to the top of it.
Oh, yes, there's got to be at least 15 floors that were hit with the plane.
Tony, I'm keeping asking you to describe this for me because as I'm telling...
What had happened was I was taking the garbage out of the building to go into the freight entrance to dump it. When I heard this big roaring going, what's going on? I looked up and there's this plane zooming right over, not too high up. And then the next thing I hear in a few seconds was boom. So I ran up to the corner, and there it was, right in the middle of the World Trade Center.
Tony, we are looking at the World Trade Center as we speak. I can witness that there appears to be some things falling off of the building as we are looking at it.
It's got to hit at least 7, 8, 15 stories it had it banged into.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and it's halfway in the building.
Okay. And again, let me reiterate what we appear to be watching. Again, we have only an eyewitness and only what we are showing you on our live Skycam at this moment. But there does appear to be a plane of some sort that has crashed into the World Trade Center. If you look, it appears the top.
Almost on the top. Almost
at the top. Okay.
Three quarters up.
Yeah, at least 3/4, if not, very close to the top. But we can see that the building, there is a lot of structural damage and there is a lot of smoke.
Structure. Yes, ma'am. I just hope nobody. I wish they weren't there. Oh my God, this is a real disaster. If anybody's gone to work.
Tony, thank you very much. We appreciate your sharing this, what you witnessed with us.
My pleasure. Thank you. And I'm at 31 East 12th Street.
Okay, we are now going to go to another eyewitness, Ed Buddha. Ed, can you please tell us what you witnessed?
All right, I was ready to get on the ferry, and people started yelling and screaming, and smoke and flames were coming out towards the top of the building. And I'm still on the ferry now, and I can see it. Smoke is coming out of both sides, so whatever went into it, it looks like it just went right through it. It's really bad. A lot of people. I just heard somebody say that they thought it was a 737 that went through the building.
But you, at this point, you cannot physically see any remnants of an airplane or anything such as that. Can you not? Ed, are you still on the telephone with me? That was Ed Buddha, another eyewitness who was on a ferry, and apparently we've lost our contact with Ed at this hour. But take a look at these pictures. They are live pictures. Our Skycam that is looking at one of the World Trade Center buildings from Lower Manhattan. You can see that there has been some sort of damage to this building. At this point, we do not know exactly what happened. We have had an eyewitness named Tony Arrigo, who was on East 12th Street, looked up into the sky, and he says it appears to him that an airplane struck the upper portion of that building. We are now going to go to Mary Corza on the telephone, who is another eyewitness. Mary, can you tell us what you saw? Mary? Mary, are you there?
I am here.
Mary, can you please tell us what you saw and where you are?
I'm at 14th Street and 5th Avenue, and we saw a plane flying low overhead, which caught all of our attention. We looked up. It was making a beeline for the World Trade Center. It was very low, extremely low. Not a big plane like an airliner, but not a tiny propeller plane either. A small jet plane.
We can now see flames coming from the building. It appeared to you that the airplane was directly aimed at the World Trade Center?
It did appear that way to many of us that were here on the ground, yes.
Okay.
And when it hit, there was the big boom, a big cloud of smoke, some flames, and then mostly smoke. It just started flaming now.
Have you witnessed any people coming out of the building? Have they been able to tell you anything at this point?
No, I'm all the way up on 14th Street, so I can't see the building down below. It was only maybe a minute or two before you could hear sirens coming, so they did alert people right away, obviously. But you probably have a better fix on how many floors were damaged. It looks like quite a few floors.
Yeah, from what we're looking at, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I would say 15 to 18 stories, and there is debris falling off that building as we speak.
You did see shattered glass raining down after it hit, and like I said, a big cloud of smoke. But you couldn't tell much more from 14th Street.
Now, we had an earlier eyewitness that told us he thought it appeared to be a 737. What you saw was a small, perhaps twin-engine airplane?
No, not a twin-engine. It was a jet of medium to smallish proportions. Not a big airliner, though.
Okay. Okay, so it appeared to be and what you heard this sound. I'm just trying to understand what happened. You heard a sound. That's what compelled you to look up into the sky.
Right, you could hear a jet coming overhead, and it sounded low. So many of us looked up to see what was, because it sounded so close. We all looked up, and like I said, it didn't look like it was swerving or out of control. It was going steadily lower. It was, definitely going steadily lower, but it wasn't dropping like nose first or anything that would make you think that the plane was in trouble.
Right. Which then, of course, raises the question exactly what was that airplane doing and how did this occur?
Right,
but the airplane did not appear to be in trouble to you.
I don't know enough about airplanes to know what it should look like, but it wasn't nose down or it wasn't swerving up and down or left and right. It was making a straight, steady decline towards the World Trade Center.
Mary, I'm hearing what sounds to be an awful lot of people that are either crying or sobbing or something in the background.
That's my baby wondering why I'm still standing here. But there are a lot of us who are shaking or with tears coming down our faces because it's mind-boggling to think about how many people are up there who, aren't anymore.
Exactly. And Mary, again, thank you very much. I appreciate your comments with us this morning. And I'm certain it was quite a frightening sight to have watched this. Let me reiterate what we think you're looking at. And again, we have no confirmation of exactly what happened, but it is obviously clear that something has hit the World Trade Center, shattering the windows and much of the building from what appears to be perhaps the top 15 to 20 stories of the building. We can see thick black smoke. We have seen flames erupting from it. We can tell you that we've had three eyewitnesses on the telephone. Mary Koza, who's been on the phone with us, has just told us that it appeared to be a medium-sized jet. She heard a sound, a buzzing sound, looked up, and she saw this airplane going into the building. Now, Mary said she did not know if the airplane did not appear to her to be in any kind of trouble. But again, she obviously said to us she did not know enough about airplanes to know exactly what happened. We obviously at this moment are trying to find out exactly what did happen. There are numerous emergency vehicles and officials that have raced to this scene. We do not know in terms of injuries or fatalities. We have absolutely no information about that at this point in time. All we can tell you is that something has obviously crashed into the World Trade Center, and our eyewitnesses have told us it was an airplane of some sort. There have been some reports it might have been a 737. Others have told us it could be a medium-sized jet of some sort. And again, we had a gentleman tell us that he was simply taken out the garbage, and
I can talk.
And that he looked up in the sky and he saw this happen. And of course, there was a lot of shock and a lot of sadness from the people who looked up into the sky and witnessed this just a short time ago. You can see we have Chopper 4 is now on the scene. April and Monica, what can you tell us from your vantage point?
Well, we can see right here as we were coming up the Hudson River, we can see thick black smoke indicating the fire is still going on right now in the World Trade Center. For as far as the eye can see, and you can tell right here at the top of this tower, there's a huge gaping hole, flames still inside, thick black smoke still coming out. We have not been able to see what, if any kind of an aircraft is inside the building. This is the best vantage point right here. And as you can see, just a huge gaping hole throughout the entire side of this tower right now.
April, can you see down to the street to see what might be going on down there? Are there signs of the people that have evacuated the building? What can you tell? Can you see anything down there? Or are you simply not close enough at this point?
We are simply not close enough right at this point. We are following the smoke in the air right now. There are several boats and watercraft, as we can see in the river right now. We'll try to get a better vantage point and see what we can see on the ground. It's a little difficult from the air because the buildings kind of shadow the streets, but no doubt a lot of activity on the ground right now.
And in terms of the firefighting capabilities, when you get up to this high level, I assume the firefighters have got to get up there and, fight it from inside. If you're taking a look now, you can see that we've just had another explosion, and that is considerably lower. And is that in the other building? Is that what I'm witnessing?
That apparently does look like it is in the other building at this point.
Nerve-wracking watching this again. And I'm glad that we're watching it together, because so many people, none that we hang with, want this forgotten. I've seen so many people in chat like JTB and Jules saying that family members, husband, son, decided to enlist because of this. I know the feeling, because as much as I didn't want my sons to enlist, they all did. Years later, obviously. They were little guys when it happened. This is my oldest son, my middle son, and my baby. That's my baby love chunk. And when that second one hit, I knew we were doomed.
This is the best vantage point right here. And as you can see, just a huge gaping hole throughout the entire side of this tower right now.
April, can you see down to the street to see what might be going on down there? Are there signs of the people that have evacuated the building. What can you tell? Can you see anything down there? Or are you simply not close enough at this point?
We are simply not close enough right at this point. We are following the smoke in the air right now. There are several boats and watercraft, as we can see in the river right now. We'll try to get a better vantage point and see what we can see on the ground. It's a little difficult from the air because the buildings kind of shadow the streets, but no doubt a lot of activity on the ground right now.
And in terms of the firefighting capabilities, when you get up to this high level, I assume the firefighters have got to get up there and, fight it from inside.
Now, some people will argue this video until they're blue in the face. They say there was never another plane. Well, there was, with real life people on it, real life people that died. If you rewind it and look at it, I don't want to upset everybody and keep looking at it again and again, but you clearly see a plane coming through. And I do not like when people act like this didn't happen to their loved ones. It did. It did. There was real life people on these airplanes.
If you're taking a look now, you can see that we've just had another explosion, and that is considerably lower. And is that in the other building? Is that what I'm witnessing?
That apparently does look like it is in the other building at this point.
And that looks to be lower, which means there, obviously there are considerable numbers of stories above that explosion that we just saw. Perhaps we can get another look from one of our sky cams that can take a different angle. Yes, you can tell that it now appears that both buildings are suffering some kind of damage this morning. My colleague, Glenn Walker, has just joined me here in the studio. And Glenn, I don't know if you've received any other information, but perhaps you can, again, go over what we do know at this point, which is pretty much visual and what eyewitnesses have told us.
Well, I would hate to...
And a girl that's commentating the news sounded cool as a cucumber in the beginning, but when the second plane hit, you can hear her voice shaking. Then it's like, okay, we're not dealing with a plane malfunction any longer.
Speculate, but that looks like a completely separate incident right there. I mean, this building has been the subject of terrorist attacks in the past, and I certainly wouldn't want to speculate at this time, but that is a separate explosion.
Yes, it is.
In the other building. Now, we have tried to get a hold of the Port Authority, which manages the building. We haven't been able to get an answer. We did call MTA, and the MTA says a subway service as of right now is continuing, so that's not a problem because it's obviously very below, but I imagine that will change very quickly after what we just witnessed. That was a dramatic explosion. Again, it was in the separate tower than the one where the plane just crashed into about a half hour ago.
Yes, and again, there was no sign of any airplane close to that explosion, nor was there any reason to believe it would be that it could have been an after effect or a repercussion of the original, what we believe was an airplane going into one of the twin towers, and both of them now appear to be on fire. We have no word of casualties, injuries, fatalities. What you can see is heavy, heavy black smoke. You can see flames. How far down do you think that goes on the second of the World Trade Center
I would say
buildings?
that is probably maybe 7, 8 floors below from where the plane crashed into the original fire that we saw in the separate building. But that, as I said, it just looked like an explosion. It had nothing to do with the plane crashing into the first building.
Exactly. And of course, there are thousands of employees in those buildings. It is a regular work day. We have no information about anybody who is inside there and what kind of shape they might be in. We, at this point, are seeking confirmation of exactly what happened, particularly what just happened with this second apparent explosion. And I don't even know.
We're going to look at the tape of this last explosion. Maybe we can pick up something here. We said we were talking about what was going on, and then suddenly there was a big explosion in the second building.
There it is.
There it is right there.
Seems to be completely unrelated to the first one.
I didn't catch it, but I have to say, it looks like something went into the building.
Yes.
Possibly another airplane.
Well, perhaps from the other side, because we've only got the one vantage point here. What we can tell you about the building on the right is that eyewitnesses have told us I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
we have another witness on the phone. Arlene Morris, are you there?
I am.
Can you tell us what you saw?
Yes, I was sitting at my desk and I heard this big boom, a loud sound. And when I looked out the window, the top floor on the World Trade Center, there's flames just coming down, crashing down to the ground on the west side. All the cars, and they were like running into each other, and the flames just started coming down real hard. Then another sound exploded again, another impact.
What building are you in? How far away?
I'm in the World Finance Center, but my windows is opposite side to the World Trade Center. I'm in the C Tower.
Did you just see another explosion?
No, I heard it because I'm holding on the phone with you. So I heard another big boom again. It just...
Dear God, don't ask her questions. She's in the building. She's like, I'm in the C Tower. Get her the hell out of there.
Explode again.
Do you see people leaving the building?
We left. Everybody left already. I'm the only one here on my floor. I gotta get out.
But what can you tell us about the build? Can you see people on the ground from the two?
At the bottom, yes, and then the fire brigade, and they came. Everything else, they're downstairs there right now.
Do you see people that are injured? What can you?
No, I can't. I'm on the 28th floor.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's minute to my vision. I really can't see too much.
All right. Thank you very much, Arlene, and please get out of that building and seek
safety. Thank you. I'm leaving right now. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, be safe. We have another witness, Janice Huff, on the telephone. I'm not sure if it's our Janice Huff, but she apparently was a witness to the second explosion.
You saw this? Where are you?
No. Listen, I'm watching TV right now.
Yes.
Yeah. And, I can see the pictures that we have of the building, the first building, the one with the tower on the top. And as I'm watching it and you're talking, I see a plane flying behind the other tower. And I see it getting closer and closer to the building. And I'm thinking, is that a plane? And it was. And all of a sudden, I see this explosion in the other tower. So there was another plane.
So there was another plane with the second explosion.
From what I am looking at on television, from the angle that I was looking.
Here's a replay right here, I believe.
When I was watching looking at the first tower, I noticed that there was a small plane coming around the side of the building. You see it there on the right?
I see it. I see
so
it.
It's coming down.
I do see it right there.
There it is right there.
I see it.
And then it goes boom right there. Watch.
That's
there it is.
You're absolutely right.
Oh, my goodness.
So I don't know if it's a helicopter or a plane, but it was certainly flying and it went right into the building.
It was a plane.
Can we show that again, please? I clearly did not notice that the first time.
Right.
I think we need to take a look at that again. Obviously what we are looking at are the twin towers of the World Trade Center in flames. We know nothing yet about the number of people, or what has exactly happened there. We can only tell you what we have witnessed and what eyewitnesses have told us. Now here we're going to look at this tape again. Here it comes.
I think we definitely have to open this up to speculation. This could be a deliberate attack.
Yes. Okay. Now up on the right-hand side of our screen, let's take a look, and we will show you what Janice has pointed out to us. There it comes. It's not in the screen yet.
It's not in the screen yet.
Up the top, there it is. You see it coming down.
Do you see that coming in? You can see that. It
goes between the two buildings.
And it's coming right for
right
it.
there.
Yep.
Right there. There it is.
There.
It's right for it.
Obviously, we know nothing more than what we're looking at. We should tell you at this point that all 3 New York City airports have been shut down. We know nothing about who or what might be responsible if indeed this was an attack. Again, we've had eyewitnesses on the telephone talking about the first explosion. We had 2 people that told us that they saw an airplane, medium-sized airplane, going into the first tower, and then we just showed you what we saw on the videotape.
Yes. Let's go to April Lamonica up in Chopper 4 with some more information. April?
April, can you hear us? I guess we'll get to April in just a moment. I know that they've certainly made April and any of the other choppers who are in the area trying to cover this story back off, because obviously what they want to do is get their work done in terms of rescue and getting people out of there.
Now, as you just mentioned, all 3 airports are closed. And I would imagine especially after seeing that second airplane crash into the second tower, I would imagine that the military right now is up in the skies, and I'm sure that they are certainly scanning the area for any more aircraft that could possibly be trying to come into the area.
You will remember that World Trade Towers were the subject of an attack. How many years ago was it now? 10, 11? I can't even remember for sure. But again, there has been a lot of security there. There has been obviously they've been very consistent in keeping those buildings rather secure. So once again, we
always secure at the bottom.
That's right.
You know, you can't get in from ground level, but obviously very vulnerable up in the sky.
Exactly. So let us, again, reiterate what we know and what we think we know, because this is something that happened about 25 minutes ago.
Yes.
There were two explosions. The first one happened, maybe it was a half an hour ago. And there were eyewitnesses that told us on the first of the towers, the one that is closest to me, closest to your screen, I should say. Eyewitnesses told us they witnessed an airplane that apparently was making a beeline for that building. And there was an explosion, and you can see the damage. Then,
just a couple of minutes ago, we saw a second explosion. When we went back and looked at the videotape, it was very clear that a plane was coming. It was very clear that a plane was coming from the right over the Hudson River and went between the two buildings and then slammed into the second building. That was the second explosion. First time we saw it, we didn't really catch the plane, but after a call from Janice Huff, she pointed it out to us, and sure enough, a second aircraft looked like it made a deliberate beeline for the second tower, and we saw that explosion just a little bit lower than the original explosion in the first tower.
Obviously, this is already having quite an effect on the city of New York. Here take a look at this video. Let's just look at this one more time. There you see the plane.
Between the two buildings.
And then you see the explosion.
Right there. Unbelievable.
Let us tell you that all of the airports in the New York City metropolitan area are closed down right now. Subway lines 1, 2, 3, and 9 have all been, the service has been, it's been cut off for the moment. And we will continue to bring you up to date on what is going on. And we actually, are hoping we'll be able to talk to somebody from the mayor's office in just a few minutes to see what they might know.
Okay, right now, let's, as you can see, the chopper force had to back off. Let's go back to April and Monica up top. April?
Okay, what we can tell you right now from up here in Chopper 4, we cannot get any closer than about 5 miles to the scene because we need to keep this far back. But you can see the black smoke as far as we are away. We can zoom in here for you. First, you saw the smoke from the one tower. Then we witnessed an explosion on the other tower. Now, we think that there was a plane that actually headed into that second tower at some point, and that's what caused that second explosion. We are unable to get close enough to actually show you or tell you what's going on at the ground, but an unbelievable sight here from above the Hudson River at this vantage point. Back to you.
I'm just looking at the wire service at this point, and it tells us that the FBI is investigating reports of a plane hijacking before the World Trade Center crashes. Now, that's all they're telling us. We know nothing more than that. But again, what's been happening here this morning, we have no absolute confirmation of anything other than what we can see with our own eyes. And now the FBI is telling us that there has been some sort of a plane hijacking that they're investigating.
Yeah, we have another witness on the telephone right now who actually saw the second explosion. Elena?
Cortella. Elena, can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you clearly.
Where are you? Tell us what you saw.
Well, actually, I was washing my dishes at my window, and I heard a very low plane, which usually does happen. But when I looked up, it was like I was actually gliding with it, and I saw it actually went straight into one of the Twin Towers. It was like it sunk right into the floor. It disintegrated instantly.
Can you tell us what kind of an airplane it was?
It looked like a huge 747. It was a big airline. It wasn't a small jet. It was a big carrier.
And you couldn't see anybody? Could you see a pilot or any such thing?
No, I actually was. It was like side by side. It was like I was right behind it. It was huge. I couldn't believe how low it was. I was telling my roommate, this plane is very low. And I actually saw it go straight into the Twin Towers. Like, why is he going into the building? It was like it was almost deliberately glided into the building.
Elena, where exactly do you live? Where did you see this from? Battery Park City?
No, I'm in the East Village on 13th Street.
And you then saw the plane go into the building, and I assume you saw the resulting...
You better believe it. I saw an explosion like I have never seen, and all I can say is those people, I don't know, but they're all definitely disintegrated. It was the most awful thing I've ever seen. It was so sad. I was like a nervous wreck.
Well, I don't blame you. I appreciate
It really
you.
was awful. And all I can say is we should pray for those people, because it looked to me that it was deliberate. Unless the pilot had a heart attack, it was like this big 747 just went right into the floor of the Twin Towers.
And little did we know as we were watching this unfold, because it was everywhere, we had hijacked planes. And it wasn't just New York City air that was shut down, it was the whole nation. And it happened fast. When was the first time you flew after 9/11? I'm the idiot that flew like 3 weeks after. I had to go to a meeting in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It was basically me and like 5 other people on the airplane. And that was scary AF. I was like, oh my God. Britt said, I've still never flown.
Well, Elena,
yes.
we thank you very much for for calling us and giving us this information.
Absolutely.
And obviously stick with us, because we are going to find out what happened. We just simply do not know for sure yet, other than the fact that airplanes ran into both of the Twin Towers about half an hour ago. 18 minutes apart was one.
And shame on those idiots at Spartan School of Aeronautics in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yes, I'm picking on my own. That found nothing odd about these people that didn't want to learn how to take off or land. They just wanted to know how to fly around in the air. Gotta be kidding me.
Attack from the other. I shouldn't call it attack. One ramming into the tower to the other. So,
but you say we are getting reports that the FBI is investigating possibly these 2 planes have been hijacked. And I would have to think, if she's correct, and it was a commercial airliner that went into the second building, then I think we've definitely got a very serious situation. Well, obviously we have a serious situation anyway, but without going too much into speculation, I think we are definitely possibly looking at a terrorist attack here.
What we do not know, the FBI has not said where they are investigating the reports of the planes being hijacked from.
Right.
Obviously, it had to be a fairly recent hijacking, if that's indeed what happened, because there were no previous reports that would have led to any kind of speculation about what was going to happen next. If we might, could we take a look at that video one more time that shows the second explosion? The first explosion happened at about 10 minutes to 9 this morning. The second one was about 18 minutes later. And here we were on the air, and this is what we saw. Look over to, you're going to look over to the right of the screen. And in just a couple of minutes, as we widen out here, you will see what it appears to be a relatively small aircraft moving into the shot. Do you see it in the upper right? Coming in. And there you see it.
Absolutely incredible.
Again, we have no knowledge of who was in that airplane, who was piloting it.
We don't, if it was hijacked, we don't know if it was full of passengers or not.
We do not know. We simply know at this point that we have the tops of 2 towers that are clearly in flames. We are going to continue to seek out the information for you. Let's reiterate what our eyewitnesses have told us.
Well, we had the first plane crashing into the tower, which, if you're looking at your TV screen, would be on your right. We had a few phone calls. People said it looked like the plane deliberately went into the building. Some people were not too sure. And about 18 minutes later, right here on live television, the second plane came into the picture and crashed into the second tower a little farther down. And the witnesses we just talked to on the telephone just a few minutes ago, she said that she saw it fly by the window of her apartment building. She lives on the Lower East Side, and she said that it looked like a commercial airliner to her.
Yes, she said it looked like a relatively huge airplane.
Yes.
And again, the FBI is investigating reports of at least 1 plane hijacking and possibly 2. Let's go to the telephone once again. We have Kay Cummings on the phone. Kay, what can you tell us?
I was watching the Channel 4 and the World Trade Center, which I can see really clearly from my window, and there was a big plane that was heading right straight for the second tower. It looked like a commercial plane, not a small plane. And I kept thinking, this is too low. It's too low. It's too low. And then it went right in. And you could see it was headed right for it.
Now, was this the first plane or the second?
Second plane.
The second plane.
I didn't see the first one.
And where exactly are you?
I'm on 12th Street in Hudson, and I have an unobstructed view of the World Trade Center from my bedroom.
Okay, and that airplane appeared to you to be a pretty good size as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, it looked like a commercial airplane. It came from the Jersey side, southwest side, coming toward the World Trade Center, very low.
We have now reports on the wires that the FBI is investigating this as foul play, a crime here, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like this is definitely deliberate.
Kay, what can you tell us about what you can see from the neighborhood right now? Do you see? I mean, can you see the street at all? Can you see anything?
No, I'm much
too
I'm
high?
in the village.
Okay.
All I can tell you is that there are loads of fire engines and police cars and sirens all heading down.
And as we are looking at live pictures, our Skycam view, I assume you're seeing somewhat the same view from your windows. You can see it still appears to be burning pretty much out of control.
You can see the fire, and I can see the fire in the second building and the first.
Mm-hmm. And you've seen debris falling off.
Yes. Now there's a helicopter. That's fine.
Yeah.
And obviously, this is a situation because of the height of the buildings. It's going to be very hard for the fire department to get up there and put these fires out.
Absolutely. Kay, we thank you very much. I assume that you were pretty shocked when you saw what happened before your very eyes.
It was horrible. It was just one of those things you see and you can't stop. It was just, I don't know. I've never seen anything like that. It was horrible.
Okay, we of course have seen something similar to this back in February of '93. That of course was when the terrorist bombing of the World Trade Center, and that was of course a major disaster, and a lot of fatalities there. And this is obviously very frightening to have this happen 8 years later like this.
Well, it is, and again, they put huge security measures in.
Well, yeah, they had huge security measures that we know of, but it's a little different when someone hijacks a plane. And it's still up in the air of how many of these hijackers were on our terror watch list. I've heard 2, and I've heard all 19. I don't think we're ever going to know. I don't think we're ever going to know. But it got worse and worse throughout the day. If we didn't realize with the second plane how bad it was, we certainly knew.
At the point that the second tower was hit, I don't think any of us had any idea of the breadth or magnitude of what could possibly happen. So when the Pentagon was hit, that kind of expanded our understanding of just how vast the potential was for this to affect everyone in America.
The fact that our Pentagon, our defense headquarters, could be hit by a commercial airliner and do that kind of damage was kind of mind-blowing, because the correlation was quite clear. If the Pentagon wasn't safe, nowhere is safe.
It was important to go downstairs and get outside, which I did. And as we came around the corner, we could see the fire and the smoke. There were pieces of the aircraft spread across the grassy area outside the building.
I reached out to Secretary Rumsfeld from Air Force One, and I was not able to get him. And it turns out one reason why is that he was becoming a first responder at the Pentagon. He was helping rescue people.
That was when it first really hit me, as I saw the billowing cauldron of black smoke coming out of the western wall of the Pentagon. That's when it became very, very real for me.
Before 9/11, I had never flown over the Pentagon. It just wasn't part of the appropriate air traffic control routing. Once the Pentagon got hit, and we weren't there, we were all very frustrated and angry that we weren't there to protect and defend.
It psychologically, I think, took a toll on the American psyche and made us really recognize that how vulnerable the White House is, sitting there in its lawn with its little fence around it. how the Capitol was just a target in waiting.
It was a rude awakening, not that terrorism existed, we knew that, but that it could be brought right home, right here in the United States. And it, I think, energized the country to recognize that the task before us was to not win a war, not win a battle, and not think that we can accomplish our goals only with bullets, but to recognize that it's an ideological struggle, as communism was, and that we need to be patient and persistent and tolerant.
I got a call.
Scary, scary, scary. And if that wasn't scary enough, and we knew it was bad enough when we saw the first tower, then the second tower, then the Pentagon. But then we see brave Americans on United 93 saying, no, you're not going to go after DC. No.
93, you're here, Cleveland Center.
United 93 is one of 4,500 planes in the sky above America. It's under the control of Al-Qaeda terrorist Ziad Jarrah, and just 34 minutes from its target, the Capitol. A top-secret recording from United 93's cockpit reveals what happens in its final moments. Few people have ever heard the tape.
Before we hear the tape, which is really hard to listen to, I just want to warn everybody, it's really hard to hear. Many of you have probably already heard it. Imagine being the family members, and you have these people saying, this never happened. It was done on a Hollywood soundstage. BS. Whoever looked the other way, we will never know, but we know that innocent people lost their lives that day.
You could hear the sound of the wind passing over the wings. So there was a lot of background noise, but even so, it was fascinating.
You could hear the scuffling. You could hear people moving quickly. The sense was that there were several people working together. You could hear a hijacker being hit with some type of object, and you could hear the pain that he felt when he was hit. And it was a cry and a wail as if he had been fatally struck.
All of a sudden, Saeed, one of the hijackers in the front, yells, "Fight!" And his buddy said, "Yeah."
They were realizing that the passengers and crew members were coming to get them.
We started to see change in the aircraft's flight. The airplane started making some pretty extreme maneuvers. Turned to the north, it turned to the south. It did like a 270-degree turn. I didn't know what was going on there.
Cleveland enlists the help of a nearby light aircraft.
We're 56865 Cleveland Center. We have Boeing 757. Can you see him up there, sir?
We've got him.
What altitude does it appear to be he's at?
He's probably 8,000 feet. He's behind us and only about 1,000 feet above us.
I advise you stay away from that aircraft. Go north as fast as you can.
In the opening moments of the passenger fight back, the terrorists lose altitude and veer away from their target of Washington, D.C.
And then they ran up the length of a 757 with all their improvised weapons, and you could hear them coming. And we could hear it in the recording. It became louder and louder, people yelling, and I'm thinking maybe they should have just done it quietly.
There was smashing and
Just sounded like things were being banged around and commotion.
And then we all heard Tom's voice. All of us just jolted. He was trying to get home to us. You could hear him yelling in the cockpit, the cockpit.
They were chanting. Tom Burnett started that, in the cockpit, and they were going, in the cockpit, in the cockpit. They rattled the heck out of those guys in the front. They were terrified.
If you can, report what he's doing, sir.
It looks like he's rocking his wings, according to my observer.
Roger.
Keeps rocking back and forth.
By shaking the aircraft back and forth, left to right, the hijackers tried to dislodge the passengers.
You could hear the passengers and crew members outside of the cockpit door.
Really loud, and the guys yelling together and encouraging one another.
You could also hear the hijackers inside the cockpit.
They said, is that it? Should we put her in the ground now? I said, no, wait. And then you could hear the noise blasting them. Get him!
And then Tom said, I'm injured. It was in a way that you had the sense that he was saying, don't wait for me. Keep going.
You could hear they were working together. And Dina said it was Tom that said, if we don't get in there, we'll die.
And they took over. They got into the cockpit and said, nope, not in my America. It's not going to happen. And that is so scary to think of.
I hear people say we don't need this war, but I say there's some things worth fighting for. What about our freedom and this piece of ground? We didn't get to keep them by backing down. They say we don't realize the mess we're getting in. Before you start your preaching, let me ask you this, my friend. Have you forgotten how it felt that day to see your homeland under fire and her people blown away? Have you forgotten when those towers fell? We had neighbors still inside going through